What's going on, brothers and sisters? Chris here from Namaste Gaming, and today we've got a lot to talk about. The back to school patch is coming on September 3rd, and while more details keep coming out every day, I think you guys have waited long enough for this video. Let's get into it. The Super Adventure Box will be making its return with this patch. World 1 will be back, and World 2 will be open as well this time around. You'll be able to get the super weapon skins that weren't released last time around, as well as the King Toad and Storm Wizard skins, which will be acquired through collecting materials in the Super Adventure Box. There's also going to be an extra hard tribulation mode for those of you looking for a bit more challenge from the SAB this go-round. Players who make it through an entire world in Tribulation mode will receive the components to Mystic Forge themselves a color-shifted super weapon skin, so you can stand out all fancy-like with your skill and accomplishments and general swag. I've been stoked for the return of the Super Adventure Box for a while now, and I'm planning on spending a fair amount of time in there. I hold no illusions about being able to complete Tribulation mode, but I'm pretty excited for the rest of it, and those new weapon skins sound awesome. The SAB is one of those things that just evokes a sense of pure fun for me. It's almost like you can tell how much fun the devs and artists had creating it while you're playing it. I hope they continue to bring it back regularly, and I can't wait to see what kind of theme they've cooked up for the zones in World 2. Moving on, we've got some permanent content in the form of Ascended weapon crafting. This is going to be a time-gated process. It's going to take 2 weeks for a single weapon, and the stats and damage range look to be about 5% better than exotics. As far as mats, all I know right now is that you're going to need a lot of crystalline dust, ectos, and obsidian shards. I'm somewhere in the middle with these. On the negative side, the time-gated aspect of them is something that I loathe personally. Either make the content challenging and restricted to the more dedicated players, or make it accessible and deal with the fact that some people will get it faster than others. Time gating is really a no-win situation as far as I see it. If a casual player happens to get a day off where they can play hardcore for 4 or 5 hours, it doesn't make much difference because lol time gate, and for a hardcore player, it's just adding another mandatory step to their checklist. It'd be lovely for them to apply the same level of community awareness to the time-gated content that they showed when they resolved to dial back temporary content in favor of more permanent stuff. I've honestly never talked to anyone who said, "Yeah, dude, I'm so happy that I can't actually make any more progress on my celestial gear today. I don't know what I'd do without that daily trip to a skill point to charge my quartz." Have you guys? Feel free to let me know in the comments if you have, but I get the feeling that that's not going to be a popular sentiment. On the more positive side, they're balanced really well. The 5% increase is enough to make them worthwhile for players who have otherwise completed their gear set, but they're not a substantial enough upgrade that casual players will feel left in the cold if they have to wait a bit longer to get them. While I fully expect to see Guild Wars 2 LFG ads requiring players to ping their Ascended weapons, I don't think it'll ever get to the elitism level of pre-nerf COF. Plus, for anyone who's played this game for a while, especially those of you who only play 1 or 2 characters, you guys probably haven't seen much in the way of progression since 2012. I love that they're by no means mandatory, but one catch, if you're a min-maxer with a lot of alts, these next few months are going to be painful and entirely devoid of gold. Of course, you're already familiar with that feeling if you've ever worked towards a legendary, but thankfully for those of us on that course and those who beat us to the finish line, legendaries are getting buffed to Ascended quality. Not only that, but they're getting something that is absolutely awesome for a habitual build switcher like myself. The ability to switch stats on the fly out of combat. This gives them a clear advantage over regular Ascended weapons. For the first time in the game's history, having a legendary will give you a benefit beyond just being a cool weapon skin. That's amazing! Let's be perfectly clear here, legendaries started as purely a cosmetic thing, with a guarantee from the devs saying that they'd always be equivalent to the highest tier of gear possible. Anyone who got them before the blog post that talked about stat switching got them for their appearance. This is a total freebie that will save you gold or real-life cash on transmutation crystals if you were ever planning on putting different stats on your legendary. ArenaNet continues to toss out bro moves that put the player's happiness ahead of their gem shop revenue, and I'm pretty happy about that myself. The last item on the agenda is the removal of Magic Find from items in favor of account-wide Magic Find. I've heard a lot of mixed opinions on this, but here's mine. This is universally a good thing. Magic Find gear has always been a horrible trade-off in this game, and if we're honest about it, mathematically speaking, it had bad returns to boot. You got a minuscule percentage of it in exchange for a huge amount of stats, and most of the time it was taking up bag space, bank space, or both. Most players only ever equipped it for dedicated farming sessions, and the rest of the time, it was just junk that you had to carry. This is going to be a totally different ballgame. Yes, the number is lower, but it's active all the time and you can increase it up to 300%. Think about what it would be like to have 300% Magic Find forever with any stats you want. That's what's possible starting next week. Yeah, it's going to take you time to get there, but there's a bit of a snowball effect on it. You're going to start off at 20%, and from there, you're going to keep climbing, and with every percent you gain, you're going to get more items to salvage for more Magic Find, so it's going to end up working similarly to the adventure experience system in the worst case. Yes, you need more to progress, but since you're getting more stuff to salvage, hopefully it all balances out, maybe even swings in favor of getting closer to the cap sooner rather than later. The fact that it's active 100% of the time is a really big part of why it's awesome too. This means that in situations where you couldn't get away with wearing Magic Find gear previously, like certain dungeons, fractals, World v World, or leveling characters even, you're going to have access to whatever percentage of Magic Find you've built up. The long-term returns on something like this are huge, especially if you put the work in to build it up to 300% ASAP. If you're a solo player who only wears their Magic Find set and exclusively farms from the time you log in to the time you log out, sorry, all 5 of you guys are getting absolutely screwed by this change, and that sucks. But if you do things other than farm in a Magic Find set, this change is an upgrade for you. Trust me, I'm a scientist. Well, kind of. YouTube videos are science, right? They're certainly not magic, because I'm no magician. Or am I? Speaking of magic, you guys know I don't usually ask you for anything other than chatting with me in the comments and clicking like when, you actually like the video, but I've been desperately wanting to bring you guys some videos of Hearthstone, Blizzard's new online card game, so if any of you have a spare beta key that you'd be willing to part with, I will love you forever, and I'll give you a hug in real life if we ever meet, or something, whatever. I've been spending my evenings shouting at the screen watching other people play it, and as someone who has played Magic off and on for 16 years, I'd love to bring you guys some deck building walkthroughs and arena runs and other fun stuff. And just to be clear, those videos won't be replacing any Guild Wars 2 content. They'll be straight up extra content. If you can hook it up, let's make this happen. That's all we've got for the patch preview today, folks. Click like if you liked it, click subscribe if you haven't already. Much love to all of you wonderful humans, and stay black.